sometimes it's not evening in here. I had to shut down yesterday, which there are like advantages and disadvantages to that. The main advantage is that, yeah, I'm now 100% sure that, and the other times I experienced something like that was a shutdown, not something else. And the disadvantage is that it was a fucking shutdown. It was really unpleasant. I kind of, my plan was to like deal with my autism stuff first, with all the autism things, and then move on to my relationship with the third. And let me move this a little bit. With talking about what I learned in there, but they keep intertwining, obviously, because I'm still all about me. And the shutdowns are also very much about them. So, my third number one, which is a person, not a third, a person I was friends with, or like maybe in a relationship with, for like 4.5 years or something like that. And they have NPD. No formal diagnosis, but they definitely have it. And those 4 years for me were horrible. How it is related to the shutdowns is that there was this mutual really understanding that in a few of our online conversations I refused to speak to them, and I was like giving them a silent treatment. I was like punishing them, or like refusing to engage, and like just like being bad to them by doing that, and like, I don't know, maybe blackmailing them or just abandoning them or something. Well, like, you know, silent treatment, which so that was their take on that. The conversations were happening online, and for me, I don't know anything. I'm dumb. I don't know definitions of anything. I don't understand them. So yeah, silent treatment meant basically nothing for me. It kind of still does. I don't really, I mean, I don't use terminology like that myself. I just describe what is actually happening. Hope people understand me, but I kind of agreed that there were like those few times when I didn't talk to them, and it was never the case from them. They never, like, no matter where we came to in our discussions, in our arguments, there was never a drop in communication. There was never like a pause or a stop or a halt, like anything like that. So I was like, okay, yeah, like that's what I did. Like, I guess I did that. Well, like, I guess I did. So there were like three or four maybe times where I guess I didn't talk. Like, okay, that is just the reality of it. So let's live with this. Let's live with this fact. But then recently, about like a few weeks ago, that concept, that was like a concept that we both shared, that this happened, this kind of like popped in my mind, and I was like, how was it a silent treatment if I kept talking to you. So I googled what silent treatment was. I didn't understand fucking anything. Just kept thinking about it, like, I should not, completely not speak to you and ignore you for it to be silent treatment, I guess. Or maybe not. So I just kept thinking about it, and then another idea came to my mind, is like, was it a fucking shutdown? Because I've been up to that point, I've been watching a lot of videos on autism, and shutdowns were mentioned, and it was just something brewing in my mind. Again, I googled what a shutdown is, didn't understand anything, and I went to an autism Reddit to ask about that, and a few, I think 2 people said that yeah, it kind of looks like a shutdown. So how those situations happened in our conversations is that, so we would be discussing something, or rather arguing, and it would be going on for hours, and I would be trying to explain something, and or to ask for something, can you please get this point, do you understand that this doesn't work like this? There were a lot of they said a lot of just completely, absolutely dumb things. So yeah, I would be talking to a person who is genuinely asking, but why can't it be that I don't have to do anything, and someone else has to do something, and I don't have to do anything that I don't want to, or just anything in general, anything, or why is it bad? Why isn't it good that I do what I want and other people do what I tell them? Why is it bad? Isn't it good? So I had to my cat keeps eating. Stop eating. So yeah, those were the discussions I was having, and it's fucking hard. I don't know how to answer that. Why is it bad? Why is it bad to not care about anyone, you included? Why isn't it good that I don't care about you and I just deny you everything? And why is it bad? See, I was trying to talk to them about something like that. Those conversations were always these kind of meat grinders things, and then at some point they would say something like, yeah, why is it bad? And I would just stop like a clock, I would just get stuck there like this, looking at it, and something would happen in my brain. There would be a physical unpleasant sensation in my brain and in my whole body, and then I would just spend minutes upon minutes and then hours upon hours of just sitting there looking at the screen with their message, and not I couldn't move, couldn't really move, wasn't that I was paralyzed, but it was so difficult. I'm moving now with no problem, but in that state, every motion I had to fight something to complete it, or to start it first and then to complete it, and every motion would drain me and I couldn't produce any words, even though I was trying to. So usually it would take me about 10 minutes to like move my hands to put them on the keyboard to try to answer to what they said, and then like forcing my fingers to move on the keyboard, and the worst part was just choosing something to say, and I couldn't because nothing made sense. Like the words lost all their meanings, the concepts, the whole world like didn't make sense anymore, and not even sense. It's kind of very hard to explain. Cat, stop fucking eating. There is a purpose now, for example, for me saying that to the cat, even though it doesn't understand. I have to grab it, but let's say it was a dog who understood something. So there were like consequences to actions and to words, and words have a sphere of ideas connected to them. Potato doesn't usually mean philosophy, there is like a range of meanings and concepts attached to words normally, but in that state for me, they were all kind of shattered and they all disappeared. So it was very hard to answer something, and by the time I managed, they had already asked me like, aren't you, like, what, you're not talking to me, like, why aren't you talking to me, what did you decide, like, not to be friends with me anymore, why are you punishing me, or something like this, which didn't change my state obviously. So I would just, my answers were very short, and I'm a very wordy person. I don't have an option for like telling a long story short, only the opposite. Only the opposite of that. And I couldn't, I would produce like maybe 3, 4, 5 words, and they were lost. They were empty words. I would just say like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, I don't know what to say to you, I don't know anything, which is exactly how I felt, like I didn't know anything. And this thing would last for a few hours usually, so like 2, 3 with me, because like every message that I managed to force out of myself would take me 20 minutes to say, and then they would answer something and I would have to process that again as well and try to answer. But that shit would take about 3 hours, I would say, usually, and then gradually it would go away. My kind of like, not inability, but difficulty moving and difficulty speaking. This cat is fat. It's gonna get fat. Keeps eating. Go away. My friend, my third number 1, they didn't see me when that happened. They were in their house, away from me, like far away from me, in a different city actually, with like more than 1,000 kilometers between us, so they didn't see what was going on with me. I don't know, like, had they seen that would have they reacted differently or not? But the point is, they didn't see it, so to them I guess it just felt like I was deliberately not talking to them and deliberately giving them these like short, empty answers. Maybe that I was like extremely angry at them or something. So yeah, they referred to it as a silent treatment, and this me like deliberately refusing to talk to them and like hurting, like wanting to hurt them by that. To which I was like, okay, I didn't want to hurt you, but I definitely didn't speak the way I normally speak, so that happened, that is a fact. And yeah, it's a shutdown. I had this thought, and I thought about it again and again, like, those were shutdowns. There was a drop in communication because there was a drop in activity in my brain, and I didn't fucking decide to have, like, to enter that state. There was no planning on my part, there were no decisions, no, like, oh, I'm so fucking pissed with what they said, I should just, no, I will not talk to them anymore. There was nothing like that. She's eating again. Come here. Yeah, yesterday I went, I got a shutdown because of my communication with autistic people on the Autistic Reddit. Which I found really ironic. I went there to discuss something because I had a conversation about 3 days ago with some acquaintances of mine, and the conversation just so clearly followed this pattern that has been quite, like, I have observed quite often in my life, and it's a bit strange. I don't normally see conversations unfolding this way. For example, I have never seen it in any movie or something, and I don't remember seeing or like overhearing, you know, sometimes I would be in a place where people are having conversations, and I have never heard a conversation like that, like the one I have had for many times in my life. So they were bizarre, and I don't want to go into it now, so, but I wanted to do it then. So I wrote a post, and some people started answering. I don't know how to put it. Some of them weren't nice. I don't know what they were, but they didn't feel nice to me. Like what they said felt painful to me. I'm not putting anything on them, but there was something that felt negative to me. And some people just didn't understand what I meant. And all of that, those few responses that I've got, some of them were like not really understanding what I meant, but then still talking about something trying to offer me something completely different, something that is like not related to what I was talking about. And one response was, I mean, I don't know how to characterize it actually, because like they were talking to me, but like saying that they would not talk to me. Interesting. So all of that, and like me thinking about those interactions that I usually have with people, the strange ones, like trying to like think about it, like obviously with some emotion, and then trying to communicate with people again with some emotion, and with being reminded, there is no doubt about it, like being reminded of my communication with my third number one, it just kept, I could feel like an increase of thoughts in my brain, just kind of like lines of trains of thought falling in all sorts of different directions, and I think like meaning was multiplying. It's interesting. The implications of each thing were multiplying and multiplying, like almost to the point where a potato could mean philosophy. So connections and connections, and this kind of screen of meaning that I had in front of me, it was just like getting more complex and bigger and bigger. And I felt hard, like felt almost impossible, because everything could mean not anything, but quite a lot of things. I was struggling to choose how to answer again, or how to understand, how to take what people were telling me, because there was no certainty. Interesting. So yeah, I think that was like the precursor of the shutdown, which was probably triggered by the similarity of something, of that communication, to the communication I was having for 4.5 years with my third number one, and my trauma because of that, my hurt in here. So this area, this figure is very sensitive now. So yeah, it triggered a shutdown. So yesterday again there was this sensation in my head and then in my full body, and I stopped moving, and I stopped saying something, like forget about typing. I usually just talk a lot to myself, or like to my cats, or just say, like produce some kind of sounds and some kind of words. That all stopped. And the thoughts, you know, there were some, but they got very dispersed. That screen that I described, like with all the little thoughts and ways they could follow to like this or that conclusion, or this and that idea, as if it's all, most of those parts got, someone put like cotton wool in there, so they were kind of blocked, they didn't exist anymore, and everything was floating, disconnected. And though that everything was, I was kind of lacking, it was very few, there were very few things compared to what I normally have, and definitely compared to what I had there before the shutdown. The precursor, the state that I had before, it was kind of also floating there, like a level, maybe 2 levels lower, bubbling there, and I could feel that if I kind of tilt in the wrong direction, tip in the wrong direction, it's gonna again bubble over. So I try not to do that. Yeah, one more thing is, I had plans for yesterday, for the evening. Yesterday I had plans for the evening, and there were a few options that I could do. And when the shutdown happened, those options became non-options. I couldn't form desires, I couldn't form decisions. So I would be choosing between the things I like, all of those things I like, but I couldn't want them. I couldn't be drawn to any one of them or all of them. It was just very empty and very neutral. the options would keep popping in my brain just as a thought about like what am I gonna do once this shit passes, because after about 5 minutes I understood, okay, that's a shutdown. It's just a fucking shutdown. I recognize the feeling. It was completely the same state that I would get in our conversations with my third one. So I thought about, okay, it's gonna pass. I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna breathe, I'm gonna like... The I'm gonna part is very difficult, because I was also trying to choose like what to do to mitigate this state, and felt like I should do something kind of repetitive and very low demand kind of thing, very simple. So I was trying to like pat my cat like this, nothing else. Wasn't really helping in the sense that the precursor to the shutdown was still, I could feel it there, and my brain would dart into that direction again, and then I would get more like fuzz, more cotton wool in my mind, and some kind of unpleasant physical sensations throughout my whole body. So I was trying to choose like what kind of repetitive soothing thing to do, and it was hard, almost impossible. Because is it executive functioning? Some function of my brain, like some part of my brain that, what is the word? Well, that does this, that has this function of like choosing between the options and making a step into this direction, like foreseeing some consequences of it, like, yeah, that's why I'm making this decision. Like, I don't know, I'm thirsty, so what should I do? Should I drink water, or should I go make myself a cup of tea, or should I maybe go to the shop and buy some tomato juice for me? Why is it I haven't had tomato juice in decades. Maybe I should, since it's now here. Should buy one. But yeah, so normally you just consider a few options, and the tea would look like this, would be experienced by me in this way, the water in this way, and the shop requires me like doing this and that, and then you choose like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna drink some water and I will file the tomato juice for later. Fairly simple, and I want to make those steps. I want to pick up my bottle, I want to drink the water. I like the water, but yesterday in the shutdown... Did you turn off? Let me see. No, it's still running. Hello back. There was some kind of sound. Yeah, all of that I think was just like turned off. It didn't function. I couldn't do that. I eventually made myself pick up some paper and grab some watercolor, because I do watercolor, and it is kind of soothing to just see how the brush moves on the paper and how it soaks up the paint or something like that. So I kind of had this idea that might work. So I needed to grab the paper, I needed to grab my water can reservoir and get the brush, get the paints, which were very near me, kind of like, like this length. That took a while,